Origin, resurrected, ex gustibus. Origin, resurrected, ex gustibus.
Good evening, Warband, and welcome to the 8th Red Pill Cult meeting. I realized I am just a little bit out of uniform right now, so 2 seconds here. Let's fix that. There we go. Now we're all dressed up. I hope everyone else has their red robes on. Alright, who's all in chat? We've got Connell McCracken, Sergeant Grinch, Big Papa Monk, Mochi Alex, Manuatopia, OK Lord, and the Jaded Warlock. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're testing a couple things because there is big news. There's quite a few bits of news. Okay, so that application is working, but it's not quite the way I like it yet. Oop. Your robes arrived. Good fit. It's good to hear. All right, so yes, you may notice one or two other things on the channel at the moment. I have been blessed by the YouTube gods to be monetized. I don't know why they did it so fast. I don't know why they said yes. But whatever intern just looked at this channel and thought, yeah, we can make some ad money off of that. I'm sorry for your impending termination. So there are a couple other things coming out this week. They're in progress. But for now, the big one is currently monetized, and I'm working with a couple other features. Does a green robe count? This isn't the green pill cult meeting. But, I mean, if you're wearing a robe, period, you're probably more in uniform. Just stick to the shadows of the candlelight, and most people probably won't notice. Hope I keep the monetization. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I usually dance around unsavory words just in case. And thanks to the advice from you, chat, I have actually gone and double checked whether or not there's a filter for some of the super chats, just in case someone decides to throw money at my channel to get it nuked. I've eliminated some of them. I don't know if I got every single one. I'm sure people can think up some inventive ways to get me demonetized or canceled, but well, at the very least, I'll get some money out of it. Yes. So we also added the viewer count to the top, and I'm gonna try with a couple other things because now that I'm monetized, I got to take this actually professionally seriously. So we're gonna be looking into a bunch of different things. Probably hold at least one test stream later in the week, just to make sure that everything's working. So expect that. But the important thing, what we are here for, is to continue our research into the past of Think Before You Sleep that he tried to bury, but unfortunately, this community likes to archive stuff, and this was no exception. So, without much further ado, we are entering with Think Before You Sleep, Episode 7, Female Evil. Let us begin and hear what he has to say on female evil.
For at least the past 100 years, we've been thoroughly educated on male evil. Men can be rapists, men can be thieves, men can start wars, men can go fight in wars and kill whole villages and rape everybody in the village. So it might go without saying that we already know what men are capable of. But for that same time period, we've been very well uneducated on what women are able to do until very recently. Because women can be just as terrible as men, and certainly they could be more terrible than men at some times. But the problem is that our defenses have been very well taken down. So men don't know anymore what women can do that's terrible, and women don't know anymore what they can do that's terrible, or they know it, they just hide it from themselves. Like a lot of times people know how to solve their problems, but they're hiding from them so they don't go and solve them. Like I know if all I have to do is eat less to lose weight, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to eat less, and so I'm going to make up a bunch of excuses. I'm going to hide away from the problem. I'm going to say it's my genetics. And so women kind of act like that a lot of times too because of the feminist movement. But
I don't think it was necessarily the feminist movement that made them act this way. Like, blame shifting, I mean, like, that just goes straight back to Adam and Eve. It's like, hey, Eve, did you eat the fruit? The serpent made me do it. Yeah, like, it ain't anything recent. But in general, yes, when women are caught doing evil shit, they usually try to throw someone or something else under the bus. Usually society. Girlfriend, Grey Ghost, I'm looking for my boyfriend. Have you tried the gym? Like, you can either try the gym or Hawaii. I'm pretty sure that that's where he's ended up. One of the shorter videos, so we'll see if we can't get through this one quickly. But let's continue.
we all know that there are a lot of really terrible things that women can do, and we all may have had terrible things done to us by women, whether it's something that happens frequently or if it's something that happens once in a while, maybe just one big event in your lifetime. So what we have to do is go back to some of the old ways, some of the old texts on how to act, because, well, those have been broken down. We've had a breakdown in society because of that. Now, if we look at the Bible, you have the Ten Commandments. And the Ten Commandments are kind of like, I like to think of them like the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are the things the government cannot do to you. So they cannot take away your right to defend yourself. They cannot take away your right to free speech. They cannot search you without probable cause or without a warrant. And so some of the commandments are...
You know, you can say that you got this Bill of Rights, but then what happens when the government violates it? Oh, right. The government will investigate themselves and find that they did nothing wrong. And also, I find it kind of interesting that this list of the Ten Commandments, this isn't even any of the literal text. This looks like it's an abridged one. Let me just take a quick little look. So, I mean, not necessarily terrible abridging, but, well, I guess the audience of Think Before You Sleep is probably not the most devout of Christians. So, wow, we'll just keep going.
in the Bible are like that. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. These are more so of male attributes. So those are limitations on men primarily, though they could be limitations on women, because certainly women do kill and steal. But the big limiter on women in the Ten Commandments is thou shalt not bear false witness against a neighbor. And I think that's probably the biggest warning out of any of the commandments against female evil that exists in religious text.
Yeah, that's number 9. Adultery's number 7. I'm pretty sure that adultery was primarily a female thing, even back in the biblical era. Yeah, false testimony, yeah, no shit. But Like, remember, adultery's a little higher on the list.
Now, I've been reading this book by a YouTuber called, well, DDJ, but his channel is Misandry Today, and he has a book called The Feminist Lie. And so I took this study out of that book. I think it's on page 83 or 84. But there's a study that's posted on the screen right now that talks about false rape accusations. Now, this is, to be very clear, to be very honest about my data, this is only one study. This study was done in 1994, so it's been a while. Usually the standard for research is about 5 years, but I think this is one of the things we can pull an exception on, because this goes down to human nature. This is not something that's going to change over the period of 30 years or so, or 25 years, however long it's been. I think it's 25 years. Another little limitation of this study is that there weren't that many people in this study. There were only 109 total cases, which is a very small number. But the problem with this study is that in order to get a big number, you have to do a lot of, you have to jump through a lot of hoops, because you have to get them to admit they lied. And a lot of liars don't like to do that. So out of the 100 cases that they did in this particular police department, 45 of those cases admitted to lying about rape. That's 41%. Holy shit. 41% of women in this case lied about being raped. Now, the two popular reasons for that...
No. 41% of women admitted that they lied about being raped. That's not saying that the other 59% were necessarily telling the truth. It just means that 41% actually lied and admitted to it. Whereas the other ones, were they telling the truth? Were they not? Dunno. We'll never know. Unless, of course, they do a follow-up with these cases and find out whether or not some of the others grew a conscience or decided to get some repentance attention points. Yeah, 41% were caught. Either caught or they told on themselves.
Were one, I didn't want to look like a slut. I was married to my husband, and I cheated on him, and I wanted to say I was raped because I got pregnant, and I didn't want him to know it was by another guy, or something like that. The second most common reason...
paternity fraud. Well, no, that's the thing. I guess it's not paternity fraud if you say... Like, if you launch a false accusation. But let's be honest. The only way that you'd even have some kind of confusion about paternity fraud is if you're not having regular relations within your existing marriage. Because if you're going to show up 9 months pregnant and your husband's like, how? I haven't touched you in 2 years. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. So, yeah, no. It reminds me of one story where apparently this woman like threatened to withhold sex from her husband if he didn't do anything. And he was like, why are you threatening me with that? You haven't touched me in over a year. And she was like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. Because now he realizes that she's been getting it somewhere else. Anyway. For no reason. Study finds that 41% of women are honest. If the donation link wasn't pinned right now, I'd be pinning that one. That's good. That's good. Anyway, keep going.
Is I had sex with a guy, and he dumped me, and I didn't like that, so I said he raped me to get back at him. Now, when we're in this environment where we need to say that all women should be believed, and every rape accusation should be allowed, because women are never believed about rape. And yes, they are. Women are always believed about rape. It's such a stupid saying. And so this whole thing to get rid of due process, especially with the Kavanaugh hearing, when you have studies like this, it's completely ridiculous. Now, like I said, this is only one study, but I imagine, based on what we see in the current media, where all of the major rape cases have been false. Duke LaCrosse, Mattress Girl, Brett Kavanaugh. Even if you say that Christine Ford was true. Christine Ford did not lie about her accusation against Kavanaugh. There were at least 3 other people who said Kavanaugh raped them that admitted publicly that they lied. So we're batting 70% on false rape accusations against him. And there are a lot of false rape accusations that came out against, like, Donald Trump and what's the other Supreme Court judge that I can't remember his name. Another Supreme Court judge that came before Kavanaugh also had a lot of false rape accusations levied against him. By the way, it is my belief that those people should be going to jail for that. But unfortunately, they are not, which is really the true crime here.
And as I've mentioned plenty of times in other streams, the primary reason is that, well, you'd be sending women to prison, and women serve absolutely no purpose in prison. I mean, to say nothing of the blowback that you'd get, but I can almost guarantee you that if a man was to make such an accusation against a woman falsely, and he was somehow believed, and then it came out later, I mean, already this sounds unlikely, but I'm pretty sure that man would actually get some prison time. Can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that false testimony is, at the very least, frowned upon in court. It's just that women get leniency as they do with most other crime because, well, aside from the inherent bias, there is no point to having women in prison. Anyway, we'll keep going.
So one of the major tenets of female evil is false accusations. It's bearing false witness against a neighbor, bearing false witness against other people, or witch hunts, basically. Now, the second big evil, which is a video I've already made, it's called something like, God, I can't remember the name of my own videos. It's called Cucks are the root of all evil, or something like that. Because the second thing that women will do is they'll put you under their spell, or they'll be a witch, and they'll cast a spell on you, and you will just magically, your brain will force you to act in the favor of that female. And women know.
Oh, the irony. Oh, God. Probably should just clip that particular part of the video right there. I'm going to have to make a video compilation at some point of Think Before You Sleep, roasting Think Before You Sleep. Won't even need the AI generate any of it. I'm sure there's enough voice clips in the literal hours of content to justify it. We'll keep going.
Know they're doing this. There are plenty of situations, I'm sure you can think of one, where you're at work and the guy likes a girl at the job, and the girl knows that he likes her. I think even with friends, even guys are in the friend zone, girls know those guys are in the friend zone. Think about a chick that you like, and she likes, or so a chick that you don't like, and she likes you. You immediately say, I don't like you. Right away. And you know when she's talking to you in a way that's very flirty. She's kind of always around you. She does that shoulder hit. Any guy who's been around women for any sort of time, any guy who's not super socially awkward knows when a chick likes him, or knows when a chick is showing signs. And women know this too. So when a guy thinks he's secretly in the friend zone, like she doesn't know I like her, I'm about to tell her all my secrets and unrequited love that I had for her for the past 2 years, she knows. Especially if she's asking you to do a bunch of different tasks for her. Oh, can you lift that thing for me? Oh, I'm a little bit late on my cell phone bill. Can you pay it? I'll pay you back. And then she doesn't pay you back. Things like that. They know they're doing that. And there's this, when I was playing Dungeons and Dragons back in high school, one of the big powers of evil was a spell called Domination. It was a spell that was on the list that a couple people in the group that were spellcasters had, over time had an interest in. And, when you're playing a character that's good, you can't use the power to dominate, the power to cast a spell and control someone's mind. Because that's what evil does. And so if you learned a spell like that, you would have to change your alignment, which means you have to be kicked out of the party, because you can't be someone who's evil inside a party that's trying to create good in the world.
Can if you have a good DM and good synergy. Or at the very least, you could hit neutral. Like the dominate spell, I don't know, I'd have to double check the old school rules. But there is the neutral alignment. as an option. We'll keep going, see if he. I mean, the metaphor is pretty obvious. We'll see if he's got anything deeper on this. Also, R.I.P. Robin Williams. Like, there's a man driven to desperation because of the whole court system. Let's keep going.
And I think that's a very good perception on the people who created that game, that the power to dominate minds, the power to charm, the power to suggest, or the power to manipulate are the powers of evil. And that's what happens when you are associating yourself with the wrong people. When you're associating yourself in the friend zone, women will take advantage of that, and they will try to use you to their advantage, and they'll try to use you to get you to do a bunch of tasks until you figure it out, and then you drop her. So
should we maybe take a betting pool on how long before Sean realizes what's going on and decides to dump Venti? Because honestly, it's the thing. It's like, this is the kind of video that you'd really think that Sean could probably afford to watch right now. I mean, me responding to this is one thing, but I'll be honest. I'd be curious to get Sean to respond to his own videos right now. Because to us on the outside, it's obvious what's happening. And of course, it just begs the question, was he just repeating the talking points the entire time to build a YouTube channel and make a career out of it? Or at the time, did he actually genuinely believe this stuff? We may never know.
basically, if you're dating, you don't put yourself in the friend zone. The friend zone does not exist to you. It's either she is going to go out with you, she is going to have sex with you, or you go to the next person.
and yet, you are now the boyfriend to a girl who is allegedly saving herself for marriage. Bravo. You have become exactly what you declared as evil, what, 2 videos ago? Exactly. Okay, Lord. Sean needs to take his own advice. But it's his own advice from 2019. Actually, it turns out the archive does have an exact date for when each one of these videos are published. And yeah, this is like early 2019 here. So 4 years ago, he needs to go back in time and have 4 years, and have himself from 4 years ago explain why he's fucking up now.
Otherwise, she'll cast her spell. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the nice guy. This might be the same category because, as we all know, nice guys aren't actually nice guys. One of my favorite songs by Nine Inch Nails is called Capital G. And there's a line in there that says, "Don't try to tell me that some power can corrupt a person. You haven't had enough to know what it's like." And that's the situation that the nice guys are in. If they had the power of the Chads, the power of the Alphas, they would be just as much of an asshole as the Chads are because they're regular ass guys. They're not any more virtuous. They just think, or they've just been manipulated by the feminist message or the feminist dogma over the past 50 years or so that women want nice guys, or women want guys that are emotional, and the guys that cry, and guys are generally pussies. And so they're using it as a strategy to get women. But if they had the power, they would be just as bad. They just haven't had enough to know what it's like. Now, women have the same situation.
Now, I can see the point of that, but I'm going to pull up another quote here to respond to that as a bit of a counter. It was one of my favorite quotes from Infamous, and it's played very early on in the game as, I think, like a loading screen. I forget who said it, but I'll look it up real quick. What is it? Let's see here. Something along the lines of, if you want to know the true character of a person, well, if you want to know the true character of a man, give him power. Yeah, apparently, Robert Ingersoll say this: if you want to judge a man's character, give him power. So, I don't necessarily think that every man, given power, is going to inevitably become an asshole. And let's be honest, some of the Chads are assholes because it does work. Like, they did make it work for them. So, like, what came first, the Chad or the asshole? Because how many, like, assholes are former nice guys that realized, hey, being nice isn't getting me what I want. Being an asshole gets me what I want. So I'm going to be an asshole. Like, you can't really blame a man for behaving poorly when he is rewarded for it and when he is punished for being decent. Like, let's be honest. If women were attracted to nice guys, good, decent behavior, assholes probably would almost cease to exist. Keep going. About 4 minutes left.
Situation. Of course, a woman could not, a fully grown woman could not, the average fully grown woman could not outpower the average fully grown man. In fact, if you look at the strength statistics, there's this really funny video where the strongest female bodybuilder gets beaten two out of three by regular bodybuilders, the strongest one. So maybe it's like it would take a man far below average to lose to an average woman. But what they can do is, even though they're not more powerful than their husband or any sort of adult men, they can be more powerful than their children. And so if she really did not like men, and she had a kid and he happened to be a son, what she could do is enact that evil on him. There are a couple of big YouTubers that have stories like this. Like Stefan Molyneux has quite a few stories about that. Another really famous YouTuber named Boogie2988 or Stephen Williams has a big story about that. I've actually followed Boogie a lot longer, so I know his story a little bit better. And if I can find a video where he tells that, I'll put that in the description. And if I can't, then, well, it won't be there. Then maybe you can search it for yourself.
Yeah, and we've all heard the stories of what women do to young boys when they're in positions of power over them. And that's not just when they are the parent. Any sort of authority figure, particularly school teachers. Yeah, they don't have the best reputation, but the average public doesn't want to talk about it. Probably because your average Joe public has sent their kids to public school and doesn't want to think about what the teachers are probably doing to their kids behind closed doors.
But Boogie298 is obviously overweight. And the reason he's overweight is because he had a very abusive mother. And his mother would do things like she'd be neglectful. She would not have him brush his teeth. Like, he didn't even know he was supposed to use a toothbrush until he was 5 years old. He had some like assignment when he was a little kid, and they were talking about dentistry, and he raised his hand and said, "Wait, are we supposed to do this every day?" And so by the time he was like 25, he was missing half his teeth. And so was his mom, by the way. And his mother would say things like, "I hate you, you're a mistake, you ruined my life." These are all words that are basically death threats. She has power over her son, and so she's going to, because nobody's watching her, she's going to abuse him as much as possible. She's going to force him to jump out of a moving car. She's going to beat him near death. And then what she'd do to make up for it is, as soon as she'd beat him or as soon as she'd scream at him, she'd go, let's go have a pizza. Let's go have some Taco Bell to make up for it. And she was doing that. Now, he thought maybe when he was younger that she was doing that because she wanted to, she felt bad about it. But the real reason she was doing that was because what she wanted to happen is that if she fed him enough, eventually he would be so fat and unattractive that no woman would ever have him. And then, so that she would have to stay with her forever.
A parent sabotaging the life of their child in order to make sure that they don't leave their life? Yeah, I wonder what that would look like if a mother wanted to keep their daughter around them at all times? You ever wonder if maybe single mothers are incentivized to create children that will look after them in the future because they've driven out their male supporter option? I mean, maybe you can say, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need a man, but you're not strong. You're not independent. You may not need a man, but you definitely need your daughter. And that's why you've actively sabotaged all hope of her finding a decent man in her life, let alone getting married. Hey, Jaded Warlock, can't say too much about that on this channel. I'm going to be demonetized. But chat is up on screen, so yeah. Minute and a half. Oh, shit, 1 minute. We're almost done.
So she really had this well planned out. Now, when she was in public, when somebody could say something against her, when the police could act against her, she was a perfect angel. She went to homeless shelters and fed the homeless. She taught special ed in school. She was a great member of the community. She made sure all the needy kids got presents during Christmas. Just a great overall person when she was being watched, when she did not have the power to get away with it. But as soon as she did, she committed evil.
Huh. Yeah, I guess, gentlemen, I mean, we see this all the time with virtue signaling these days. Like, the ones who virtue signal the hardest about their lives, it usually comes out that they've got some serious skeletons in their closet. And let's be honest, like, what did this woman do if she had time for all this? Did she actually work? Or was she a welfare queen? I mean, I don't know the details. Maybe someone else knows. But like, if you got time for that much volunteer work while you're also a single mother, like, let's be honest, it can't be that hard. Being a mother can't be so hard if you are able to supposedly raise your kid, have some kind of income, and you can also do all kinds of community work to keep up a public image of being a saint.
And there are a lot of stories like this. There are a lot of stories that I hold. There's the two ones I can think of are Stefan Molyneux and Boogie 298. And I think I'll call that a video. So those are some tenets of female evil. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, how about you hit the like button and the subscribe button on this channel? And if you have some more to add to the discussion, how about you throw a comment in the comment section? I will see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.
Well, you'll have to make do with hitting like, subscribe, and commenting on this channel. Because, as I will mention at the end of every one of these videos, Sean of Think Before You Sleep has deleted this from his video archive. And while the video was able to be saved itself, the comment section was not. That was number 7, which thankfully pretty fast because that was one of the shorter ones. So we're just going to jump right into number 8.
One of
Just catch up on chat real quick, see if there's anything else. And also just going to repost the Streamlabs link. We are monetized, and I have made it so that Super Chat should function the exact same as Streamlabs donations. But if you want to deny Neil and Google their 30%, going through Streamlabs is the more cost-efficient way to get your voice heard up here. All right. Sounds like a WQF to me. Not familiar with that acronym, Warlock, unfortunately. But without further ado, we shall continue with episode 8 of Think Before You Sleep. Develop Your Shadow.
one of the things that's become apparent to me as I've gotten older is that there are a lot of people out there who see the world as they wish it to be, as opposed to the world that actually is. And then when things don't turn out their way, they get frustrated, they get pissed, and they get mad, but they don't make the change. They still keep idealizing how things should be instead of how things actually are. And well, the problem with that is that you don't solve the issue. And you don't learn the workarounds, or you don't learn how to deal with reality and maybe actually like it for what it is, because there are a lot of things that are actually really good that you might think are terrible. But until you accept for what they are, whether they're good or bad, you won't figure out the good parts of what you're missing. And so one of the things I've learned as someone who's been teaching exercise for a long time is that people get very, very superstitious about their exercise program, and people get very superstitious about a lot of things. And so if you want to help someone succeed at exercise, and I've had students report this to me all the time, and I've found it in myself, which is why I tell this to them, is that if you allow yourself to fail a lot when you first start out, you will become superstitious about that failure. And if you fail a lot and you have zero success, well, then you're going to guarantee yourself that you're going to quit. But if you flip things around and you make things simple enough for you to succeed, because most people who exercise seem to just have these really unrealistic expectations like, I'm going to do splits in 2 weeks. Splits is one of the hardest poses you can do in yoga in terms of flexibility, and it takes years to get it done. So expecting it to be able to do it in 2 weeks is going to be is setting yourself up to lose. And if you make like 4, 5, 6, or 7 of those mistakes and you make them in the first couple weeks, why would you be doing yoga? Because you're terrible at it. You're just not as good as you had this expectation. You failed every single time, and you're just it's not for you.
Yes, Raisin. I think before. Well, no. He didn't say he exercises. He said he teaches exercise. Very, very subtle difference there, but distinct. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that many jacked guys in yoga classes. Certainly doesn't take years to do the splits. Honestly, not knowing one way or the other myself, like I don't know, like years does seem like a bit much. Hey, random Gen Z bastard, welcome, welcome. Connell, he will only have to become more woke as time goes on to keep up with their viewpoints. When he's canceled by his own people, he will realize what he has done. Oh, yeah, we'll see. Like, let's be honest. What he's done with his latest shift is he has completely alienated his oldest and most hardcore of audiences. So, like, right now, he's largely stuck with the fair weather friends. Or at the very least, the ones who are more, anti feminist light. Or the, as Alexander Grace coined, the red pill moderates. Split should take months, maybe a season. Again, not knowing, but that seems fairly reasonable. Like if you dedicated yourself to it and you weren't in absolutely horrible condition, should be somewhat feasible to do, depending on what one defines as the splits. After this and being eaten alive by his new friends, he's done. Yeah, well, we'll see. Like I really, really think that he made a bad, bad pivot jumping into like live streams after doing essay format videos for so long. Like I'm sure he's chasing the monetization and the donations at that point, but like you got to at least be somewhat engaging. I haven't watched that many of them, but primarily I hear, well, he's boring. So which if you're going to entertain people, that is the worst thing you can be. It's far better to be actively spurging out for several hours rather than be boring, because people will watch you spurg for 3 hours. They will not watch you be boring for 3 hours. Anyway, let us continue. This is one of the longer
Meanwhile,
ones.
everybody who starts out, it's probably just about as good as you anyway. They just had a different mentality about it. And so your mentality about things that are new is that you keep things very, very simple. That way you succeed. And then you use your superstition to work for you, because then you're going to become superstitious about success. Well, I've already succeeded at all these other things, so why wouldn't I just succeed at the next thing? And so you can retrain your brain to do that. Your brain is going to have some type of mechanism to explain things it can't understand, and so you want to work with that as much as possible. But what's nice is every so often is you'll have this thing that you're failing at a lot, and you'll figure it out and you'll fix it. Like I had a situation with my car. My car was shaking for about 6 months, and I tried repair after repair after repair after repair, and nothing worked. I think I spent about $600 or $700 repairing things that didn't need to be repaired. Well, it probably was good that some of these things got fixed, like my fuel pump, or sorry, my fuel injector. I think no, that was the wrong thing. It's a fuel filter. There we go. That's the thing. Was pretty crap. So that it's good that got fixed. It's good some other things got fixed, like my idle control valve, that got fixed. My gas pedal was sticking, and that got fixed because that was related to the problem of the engine shaking, or it could have been. So the gas pedal was probably a big thing. Like it's horrible to have to push on your gas pedal, and then that little like valve that shuts on and off gets stuck, because then you have to drive totally differently. And I fixed that problem within a week, but that week was too long. But after about 6 months, my mechanic said, "Well, we tried this, we tried this, we tried this. How about we try the engine coil?" And for me, I've said, "Yeah, go ahead and fix it. It's the next thing." So obviously we have to do this. And the whole time he was fixing it, it took about maybe 2 days for him to fix it. I kept thinking, this is not going to work. We're just going to have to work on the next thing. Let's get this thing out of the way. Let's get this failure out of the way so we can work on the next thing. But much to my surprise, as soon as I got my car, it worked. And even then, even though the problem was not repeated, he's like, I tested it 3 or 4 times. It doesn't do the shaking anymore. I think we're good. But come back to me if it doesn't work. And even though I had tested it before I drove it off the lot, because I would just turn the car on and it would just immediately start shaking, it took about 3 or 4 weeks before I actually trusted the car, before I actually trusted it not to break, because I'd become superstitious about it. I'd tried for 6 months, failure, 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 and then all of a sudden it worked, which is kind of nice. It's kind of relieving. And I've had other problems that are like that. Like I've had a pretty big problem with fear. I've had other problems with like laziness and stuff like that, but that's beside the point. Maybe I'll talk about it in some other podcasts. I actually have already talked about it in the How to Not Be Lazy episode. I talk about that quite a bit. But my second problem is fear. And fear is a very, very big problem to not be good at managing if you're going to speak in front of people, if you're going to teach a class, especially, well, if you teach at a yoga studio. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a yoga teacher as well as several other things too. Is if you teach it at a yoga studio, it's very easy, because the people who are there already know how to be yoga students. Much like if you're a comedian and you go and you do comedy for your special, everybody's already on your side. They already want you to win. They paid their ticket. They paid the money for their tickets. They came to see you. They want you to do well. Whereas if you go to the comedy clubs, people are half drunk. Who the fuck are you? I've just heard 3 terrible comedians. You're probably not going to be any better. Or whereas, so studios you do really well, but no teacher can just teach a studio. It's just like no comedian can just do specials. You have to go through the trenches first. You have to do your time.
Oh, jeez. Okay, we are 6 minutes in. This is definitely a bad habit I noticed with a bunch of his videos. Like, he's going on a bunch of tangential rants. It's like, the title of the video is Develop Your Shadow. High school essay 101 is you need to be introducing your topic, what the heck you're talking about, within the first sentence, or at the very least the first paragraph. I don't know whether he's actually started scripting by this point. It doesn't feel like it. it feels like a tangential rant about something, but I don't know. It's it's weird. Also, guys, let me know if it's buffering. I'm getting a notification here, let's keep going. See how long it takes him because we're almost a third of the way through the video, and he still hasn't actually gotten to what the heck does develop your shadow mean.
Before you can teach us at the places that are good. And so those places for yoga are gyms, and gyms are probably not as bad as a stand up club. Those places are probably worse as people are not only rude but they're drunk, so they're more rude. But people are fairly rude at the gym, unless you do very well, unless you know how to manage them, unless you can get things right. For the longest time, I had real problems managing the students that are bad. Now, most students were good, but if you've ever taught people, it only takes one student to fuck everything up. So you could have a class of 50 people. Student number 51 walks in and ruins your whole class. Like it can take 15 people to build a building, but one person to burn it down. Or maybe it could take hundreds of people to build a cathedral, but one person can burn that thing down, and they can burn it down in like a couple of hours.
Okay, so let's be honest. Like, you're pulling from your own experiences here. How many people were you teaching? Because quite honestly, 50 people? That sounds like a recipe for disaster. The most that I'm aware of that you can reasonably teach at once is around 30. And that's people who are actually like fairly engaged. But even then, like, someone has to be actively disruptive. Like, a bad student could just be, lazy and inattentive. And heck, it's yoga. If someone's being lazy and inattentive, you can ignore them. They still paid. Oh, true. Yeah, yeah. A class of 100 students, okay, or yeah, it's like university setting and whatnot. But yeah, I've been in massive lecture halls myself, and well, how disruptive can someone be? And if they are, you just remove them from the class. Hey, yeah, this. Again, we'll see if he actually gets to the point.
So there's a massive destructive force that people can have if they're not kept in line, or they're not controlled, or you're not impressing them enough to keep them in control. And I had that problem for about 3 years. And the person who ended up solving it was Jordan Peterson. Was Jordan Peterson's reflection of how of Carl Jung's idea of the shadow. And what Carl Jung has to say about that is that
Okay, so we are 7 minutes in, and he finally mentions the shadow. Literally a third of the way through the video.
you have to develop your capacity for evil. And I think we have a real crisis here, and this is probably removed from Carl Jung's time. I can't remember when he died. Not in I don't think it was by the millennial generation, but I'm sure you can look that up on Google. I'm not going to pause the podcast to do that. It's not that relevant. But certainly the crisis today is that we've lost religion. We've lost even the people who I don't think anybody, back in the old days where we're super, super religious. I think it's like a lot of people, some people were super, super into it. Some people were like, I don't know, but I go to church because it helps me communicate with other people.
Yeah, and there was also the whole, I go to church because if I don't, my neighbors are going to put me in a barrel and parade me through the street in a humiliating and very painful fashion. Like, shit was different back then. You going to church was not so much a casual option that you did for socializing. I guess it depends how far back you go. But I've seen actual torture devices, and when I looked up, okay, well, why was this stuff used for? It's like, oh, it was used for people who didn't go to church on Sunday. Like, okay, maybe people were a little more zealous, a couple 100 years ago than they were today. So assuming that people were, as casual back then as they are today, I think that's a pretty bold assumption to make.
But now we don't even have that. We have a lot of people who are moving away from the church. We have a lot of people who are moving.
Well, yeah, they're moving away from the church because the church does not teach a pure message. Much like people started moving away from you when they heard that your message was getting corrupted and subverted. Shocker.
Away from the old messages. And the problem with that is that church served a very, very specific purpose to talk about evil, to talk about things that are bad, to help you confess your problems and help you repent for doing things that are bad, but not to say that you can't do those bad things. But if you do, well, recognize it and then overcome it. Or
No. It was meant to tell you shit that you shouldn't do. And that if you've done it, you need to make amends for it. It wasn't fucking absolution for your sins. It wasn't giving you permission to be evil so long as you confess. The whole idea was that you were supposed to learn about bad shit to not do bad shit. Learn about the consequences of doing bad shit to discourage you from doing bad shit. And if you'd done it, to realize that you were doing bad shit and change your behavior. Let's continue, see where else he's going with this.
you have this idea of original sin, which is that we're all sinners, we're all people who could be terrible. And until we develop that, we can't actually be well-rounded people. We will be consumed by all the people who are capable of breaking the rules. So we have to be able to be rule breakers ourselves until we can, so we can compete with the people who are willing to do so. And that very well keeps those people in check and keeps them from rule breaking. Because once you get good at managing a class, once you get good at...
Okay. Now, might that be somewhat general life advice? Debatable. Was that the intention, the original intention of church? No. The whole idea of going to church and having a unified, homogenous morality system was to keep everybody on the same deal. Like, look, we all agree. These are the rules. This is what you should follow. We're all agreeing to this. We're all enforcing this. We all acknowledge what is good, what is evil, what to do, and what not to do. And that helps keep our community unified, which we're going to fucking need to do. Because you can look around nowadays and see what happens when you don't have a unified community. You got people who should be neighbors and they don't like each other to the point that they would be willing to commit violence. The UK right now, prime example of that. New York as well as, heck, many heavily urbanized areas in the United States. Have communities being broken apart because they don't have any sort of unifying moral force aside from the law. And as soon as the law decides to fuck away from them all, it's like, well, all right. Keep going.
managing an audience, a lot fewer people fuck with you. If you are not good at that, if people see that you are not capable of breaking the rules, if people see that you're not capable of being mean and cruel and harsh, if you're pushed to it, they'll mess with you way more.
What the heck did you do during your yoga class that was cruel and mean and evil and harsh? Like, what, did you roast people? I mean, shit, like, me getting pissed at work is enough to make people skittish. Like, what the heck did you do? You can give this kind of generic advice, but if you're not willing to give specific examples about what you've done in order to counter what specific influence and what you gain from it, I personally question the value, but we'll continue. Maybe he'll get into it. Yeah. Sorry, guys, that the stream's stopping. I don't know what's up. It said that my connection was bad. Something about the bit rate. I've done my best to optimize it. I don't know what's up. Maybe if I close an extra app or two, it'll fix it. But it says it's healthy now, so refresh if it's not playing. But we'll keep going.
And so the way I got around this, actually, let me just there's a movie called The Network, which if you've I used to be a really big fan of Alex Jones until until I realized that some of the tactics, a lot of things that Alex Jones says are very, very correct. But the tactics that he uses are very, very, they're not the tactics I'd actually strive to use. Like there's a thing where he goes to like Whole Foods and he starts yelling at the Whole Foods staff for being run by Jeff Bezos. And like, these are just people at Whole Foods, man. Like, geez, they don't know what the fuck is going on. They're just trying to work. If you're going to convert people, that's not how you do it. But there's this like Alex Jones cocktail of movies that you have to watch and books you have to read, and those movies are They Live, They Live is a fantastic movie, a fantastic metaphor if you have not seen that. There's Soylent Green, which is a movie I didn't like that much. The only part of that movie was good was the part where they say Soylent Green is people. That little like The Giver revelation or Logan's Run revelation. And there's another movie that's kind of like, it's better than Soylent Green, but it's not as good as They Live. It's a little bit cerebral, which is a movie called The Network. And The Network, I sort of remember it. But The Network is a movie about a guy who is kind of going insane, like he's getting dementia or something like that. He's in old age. But he's like this media personality, and they decide to give him his own show. And he creates this cult following of people who are just like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And maybe he just flings bullshit, but he says it in a very meaningful way so people listen. And this is a very true thing that people will do, is if you can say things meaningful, if you can be true and honest about how you're presenting information, people will follow that. Of course, it does not matter in that case whether the information is correct or not. People will just follow the charisma of the situation, which hopefully that type of human trait will be rectified because people will know to look for that. And so there's this one very pivotal scene that's very, very popular. In fact, it's so popular that one of those credit card commercials, well, maybe it's not in your region, but there's this credit card commercial it's like a payday loan place. And they have these people come out their window and shout, "It's my money and I want it now." And if I can find that ad, I'll put it in the description.
It's my money and I need it now.
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 It's your money. Use it when you need it.
But this is like every single daytime TV show when I was like 7 or 8 would play this stupid commercial. And I didn't get the reference because I was 7. But there's this really, really pivotal scene. Actually, let me just pause the podcast for a second and I'll show it to you.
Okay, so payday loans. Like, hey, you need your paycheck right now? Well, here, we will give you your paycheck in advance. And then we're going to collect interest on it so that you get less of your paycheck later. You get the amount of money you would be paid now, and we get it plus interest later. Yeah, that sounds like it's my money and I need it now. Now it's like, you need our money now because you weren't able to plan and save for not having it now. And heck, I know people who get absolutely fucked on taking out multiple loans and the interest absolutely screws them. So I don't know, payday loan services have always seemed fucking skeezy to me, and that commercial did absolutely nothing to help alleviate that feeling. Anyway, let's see what else he's got.
See you now. Actually, that's a mistake. Let's not call this a podcast. Let's just call this a YouTube channel. I originally intended to make this a podcast, but I had a ton of problems with iTunes, and iTunes like monitors what you say, so I don't think I can be as free on iTunes as I can be on YouTube. So we're just going to call this a YouTube channel. But anyway, here's the clip.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Bang.
Wonder how long of this I can show before my own channel's like, this is ineligible for advertisements due to copyright. Well, we'll find out. Try not to let more than a minute of uninterrupted audio play. Hey, Real Talk, welcome. You're probably familiar with this scene, and heck, I've seen this scene a couple times, and I've never even seen the movie.
Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
You know, average weekend in Chicago.
We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
So apparently this was made in 1976, and yet, quite frankly, this could be made today, right now, and it would be completely accurate and relevant.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
So I like this scene because it's what he says is absolutely correct. And maybe that's why his character becomes so popular, because maybe he doesn't have the right information, but maybe he knows how to respond and how to get people to rouse a crowd. Because basically he's saying, hey, look, there's all these problems in the world. I have no idea how to solve them. But I do know one thing, is we can't be afraid. And how you get rid of fear is you get angry. And it's something that Jordan Peterson said in one of his clips. I forget where.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I mean, there's the mechanism for fear leading to anger. You try to get rid of the fear with anger.
Maybe it was in his Bible series or something like that. But, well, have fun looking for that. But that is... The problem for me was I was dealing with fear. I had students that were running amok in my class. I had, here's how fucked up it would be. I had people who would answer their phone, and we were trying to meditate, and they would answer their phone in the middle of the yoga class. And this would happen all the time. I had a student, I had actually several students start watching YouTube videos in the middle of my class. They were just breaking, we were stretching and doing stuff like that, and they would just break out their phone and start watching YouTube and put their headphones on in the middle of my class, like nobody else was there. And these people are typically people, someone who's willing to do that is so far gone that I just kicked that person out of the class. Well, I learned to do that after repeated failure because I could not get myself to do it. What would happen is that people would be breaking the rules, or they would be not breaking the rules, but let's say causing a disruption to where other people in the class were clearly offended by their behavior, which made...
I was actually getting some interesting responses here. So what happens to being brave instead of using anger? Well, that's the thing. Bravery, I've heard it described, and it made the most sense to me as being afraid and doing things anyway. If you need anger in order to be spurred to action, I believe would be the right phrase. But if you need anger in order to do something in the face of fear, then yes, you're not brave, because anger's a crutch. Real talk, you get rid of fear with knowledge. Yes. Like learning and understanding and processing your situation. Like getting out of fear, if you're going to only run on an emotional state, then yeah, you'd go to anger. But going to knowledge allows it to be far more effective. Sotnar, is your comment hidden? Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't seen anything pop up since you mentioned the tribe. So, yeah, I don't know. I do have like some moderate automatic moderation on here, like to hide messages to later, and I don't know how much the monetization will have affected the algorithm. So, like, if stuff is being censored that is normally not entirely sure how to handle it, but I'll try to figure it out. What about controlled anger? Well, that's the thing. Controlled anger, at that point, controlled anger would be, I'd say, almost performative, where you're putting on an angry display while not allowing the emotion itself to rule you. But that requires, of course, being in control of your emotions at the time. And if you can't be in control of your emotions, then anger is a very natural response to fear, because you want to not be afraid. And if you can't like calm yourself and escape the fear logically, then you're probably going to run to anger as your, well, essentially fight response. All right. All right. All right. We'll continue, but definitely good stuff going on in the chat right now. Yeah. I'm flattered that you compare this dissection to the Sherlock Holmes fighting scenes. Admittedly, I did really like those parts of the movies. So.
Means if I don't take care of that, the other people will not take the class. And of course, those other people are the students I want to keep. They're the students who are not creating any sort of distress. So the way I dealt with this is I started developing my capacity for evil. I listened to that line where Jordan Peterson says, hey, if you have no capacity for evil, you're going to start your people who are evil who are going to run over you. They're going to take advantage of you. They're going to get you to do things that you know you shouldn't be doing.
What the heck is evil here? Like, he's jumping from like I kicked disruptive people out of my yoga class to I needed to adjust. I needed to develop a capacity for evil. I'm very confused. Maybe he'll make the connections here. Let's see. Yeah, Sotnar TB is probably missing the point of the newscaster part. The point being that the newscaster is bought and owned and used by the network. He's another level of control, controlled opposition. So, yeah, Sotnar, if you need it to be seen, then yeah, that was seen. So. Yeah, exactly. He's not exactly Warlock. He's not defining what evil is. He's not even saying what he did was evil. It's just I needed to become evil to get control of my yoga class. Like, what? Is evil just saying mean words? Is just being harsh? Is just not being a pushover? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that there's paladins who are very firmly in the lawful good realm who will go all day as Vault on a bugger, but is that supposedly capacity for evil, or is that just, righteousness and faith that what you're doing is correct and necessary, if not outright good? Maybe he'll get into it. We've still got another 6 minutes.
And they're going to overpower you unless unless you can deal with.
Yeah, no, exactly, Warlock. Is evil standing up for yourself? Is it? Like, is the modern good being a pushover?
Yourself, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm evil too, and I'm going to use that evil for good. Because you can take a lot of bad traits and make them.
Use that evil for good. Let's see where he goes. Let's just see where he goes. That's something to break down. Let's see where he goes.
Positive traits. Like you can take anger and use anger as a way to conquer your fear. So what happened after that is people would start texting in my class. And well, before that, I would say like, oh, you know, they're not texting for that long. They'll stop doing it. And then they pick up their phone 5 minutes later and text again. Or, you know, that was just really important. The next time they text, I'll get it. And the next one they come up, but you know, class is almost over. There's no point in telling them now. If they come back, I'll get them the next.
Is this supposed to be him being good? This is not good. This is just straight up weakness, spinelessness. Like, what's that saying? Evil triumphs when good men do nothing. If someone is being actively disruptive in your class, and you are allowing everyone else to have their experience damaged because you are too much of a pansy in order to just address the issue and remove the problem, guess what? You're not a good person to begin with.
Class. And so I'd make all these excuses. And I can watch other teachers making these excuses too, because I'll take their class and their students will be just as well. I'll teach their classes because I'll sub for them, and their students will be just as bad as mine used to be. They won't be civilized into taking a yoga class. It's very annoying having to re-civilize them, but I'm more than willing to do it. So what got me to actually do it was to say, in my head, I don't actually verbalize this, because if I verbalize this, I might accidentally attack someone who's not guilty. Sometimes people don't know, because it's like it's acceptable to text in everybody else.
What? You guys are saying the stream's dead? Looks live on my end. Yeah, something about like my upload speed's been really weird. Yeah, this is gonna scuff the whole segment, but yeah, sorry guys. Like refresh it. I can see the view count regularly dipping out. So yeah, get monetized, and I guess now I got people messing with it. Like I haven't even seen anything on the stream health being buggered, so I don't know, guys. We'll see if this persists across streams. Maybe I'll have to do something on my end to mess with the uploads, but I'm not seeing any alerts that things are wrong. I don't know. I'm seeing it like flicker in and out, so if it bugs out, guys, I'm sorry. Just refresh. I'll try to improve it as best I can, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
Else's class except for yours, so I didn't know it wasn't okay. And
it's like every time I get to 30 subs, or like every time I get to like 30 or so active viewers, it decides, nah, we got to chop you down back to single digits. So it's like, YouTube, come on. Like, I know the super chats are not rolling in like they are for some of my contemporaries. I'm working on it. We need to have a good stream experience for these guys to actually be willing to open their wallets. Anyway, 5 minutes to go. Let's keep going.
they might be perfectly reasonable people if you're nice to them. But what I say in my head is, how fucking dare you text in my class? This is a goddamn yoga class. Don't you know what you're fucking doing? Piece of shit. And roughly the narrative's like that.
So you cussed the guy out. You dropped a whole lot of curse words on him, and cussed him out. I don't necessarily, I mean, okay, you're just cussing the guy out. What happened to, like, just telling him to leave? Just removing him from the class? Why was the profanity necessary? I'll be honest, when you're teaching a class, this does not sound particularly professional. Like, I mean, what, like 2019? Wait, how old is he? Like, if Sean's like 32 now, then he would have had to be. When the heck was he teaching yoga? Okay, so this is 4 years ago. So I guess early 20s? Weird. Yeah, okay, like, is he bothering anyone but himself? Like, allegedly, he's bothering other people? Like, I mean, honestly, just be like, hey, turn your phones off before class, or set them aside, and if you need to take a text or a call, just step out of the class to take it. And then when you establish that rule up front, and then when people break that rule, you kick them out of the class. There's no need for a tirade of profanity. Is this supposed to be, oh, I'm committing good with my evil? Because you know what the fucking, like, what your yoga students, the ones who aren't going to, like, the ones who aren't doing shit, going to remember? They're going to remember, holy shit, my yoga teacher cusses people out. I don't know, guys. I'll take a brief poll. Like, one's in the chat if you think that what he was doing was good and necessary. 2, if you think that he hit the negatives of both extremes on this.
Because if I think they're a piece of trash, I'm actually going to go do something about it. Now, of course, the actual methodology of me managing that person is walking up to them and saying, hey, could you please turn your phone off? I'm thinking all the terrible things in my head, because if I don't think that...
Oh, so you didn't actually cuss them out. You just went up and then politely asked them. Okay. You were just thinking nasty thoughts.
Those things I won't act. But the way I act is very, very calm, very, very peaceful, and very, very reasonable, because if I act on that anger fully the way I actually feel, I look bad in front of other people, but 2, the student who's unknowing, the person who did not know that behavior was unacceptable, because it's not always things that are obvious, the person who did not know that was unacceptable, is you could turn them off and you very well could lose a very powerful student, a very good student. There are a lot of students who had become my best students that I had to manage, and certainly that happened to me. Like, I was a very, what would you call it? I wasn't a very good student for a lot of my years. And the ones who managed me, the ones who told me to shut up, the ones who told me to get in line and stood up to me, those are the people I attached to as students, or as a student, and ones I didn't mess with. So I very well could be robbing myself of a person who would be good for me, who would be good for the class, or the person who could actually make a change. And so maybe I change their behavior in yoga, and that sends a ripple effect over the next 5 years that changes their behavior around everybody else too. And so,
yeah, looking at how you turned out 4 years down the line. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that you should be considered a model of this is how you live your life and become a better person. Because if your model for behavior is act like a damn fool until someone puts you in your place and then you gain respect for them, just, I don't know, that personally, not how I've lived my life. Like, I do not fuck around and shit test people until they decide to put me in line. Well, although I'm sure we can all think of the kind of people that do. Almost done, guys.
If I interact with them improperly, if I overdo it, if I don't contend with anger properly, then I very well could, to repeat myself, I very well could lose that person. So there's a certain calibration to it, and you're going to be terrible at it at first. Let yourself be terrible. You're terrible at everything you first start doing.
Yeah, and also, like, shout out to Successful Endeavors and MGTOW Monger, as well as Zeitgeist Either. Right? Thank a lot of you for doing the MGTOW Mirror project and making this stuff available. Without you, this stuff would probably disappear from the internet, never to be archived, and finding this kind of stuff would be impossible. So, sincerely, thank you. I owe the lot of you big time.
So don't be worried about overdoing it. Don't be worried about getting too mad. Don't be worried about harming people. Don't be worried about hurting people's feelings while you're learning how to develop this. There will be some collateral damage to this, as long as your collateral damage as long as you're not killing anybody or something like that, as long as you're not causing real violence, you're not beating the crap out of anybody. Well, unless you're defending yourself, certainly you're allowed to defend yourself. As long as you're not doing things that are too destructive, being a little bit awkward about it is perfectly fine. And that's what solves the problem. If you have this crisis, like if you're having the beta male disease, if you're not really getting places that you want to be, and this could be, it's...
Please, go on a bit more about the beta male disease. I'm curious to hear what WebMD has to say about that, or what your own personal definition of it is. But I suspect you're going to start dancing around that real fast.
If you're not getting places you want to be because you're afraid, start getting mad. So if you want to be the person who does this certain career, let's say I wasn't a yoga teacher and I want to be a yoga teacher because I've been taking yoga for 10 years. And for 10 years, I see all these yoga teachers who are doing it wrong. Oh, that teacher sucks. I mean, I would be way better than them. They did this wrong, they did this wrong, they did that wrong. How dare they say that to their students? They're doing this incorrectly. So instead of just saying that, instead of just talk, how about you be the person that does it? I'm going to show you so poorly. I'm going to show you that you're such crappy teachers. I'm going to overcome you because I'm better than you. Start thinking like that. Now,
is that anger? Like, do you really get that mad at? Like, okay, I get it. Like, getting frustrated with someone fucking it up and thinking that you can do it better. And, well, yeah, like anyone who's had to work with people of varying degrees of competence can understand that sensation. But you're not necessarily going to make them more competent by being a good example. So trying to change someone's behavior by being a good role model, personally, I found that to be an exercise in futility. Maybe the experience has been different with other people. I can't say for sure.
of course, you act in the most calm and collected and nice possible way, but in your head, you manifest thoughts of evil, you manifest thoughts of hatred, and you manifest thoughts that can actually help you. Don't avoid your evil. Don't avoid your darkness, because if you do, you will just get run over by everybody else who doesn't avoid it. You'll get run over by everybody else who does, and then the world will be weaker for it, because you don't want to be the person who's victim to your darkness, someone who is just kind of does bad things without really knowing what they're doing. You want to be someone who can do bad things and is aware of it and can control it.
Yeah, but anger, again, like, what are bad things? What is evil? Define your terms. But if you're going to say, oh, hey, get angry, get deep into an emotion, yeah, no. An emotional response does not equate control. So you're giving completely contradictory advice. Surprise, surprise.
And if everybody does that, wow, we're gonna be in a very good place. If people can develop their negative side properly, especially the people who are very undeveloped in that. People can develop their ability to do harm and develop their ability for anger, but anger in the right way. Well, we'll be a lot better off. So we'll call that an episode. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button or hit that like button if you happen to like the channel. If you don't like the channel, then click off this video, go somewhere else. In fact, if you don't like this channel, why did you make it this far in this video? That's impressive. So I guess sometimes people go towards things they hate. Like a lot of people would listen to the Tom Likas show even though they absolutely hated him. So if you're one of those people, click off, or maybe you subscribe anyway. Maybe you hate me, you love to hate me, and you watch all my other videos that you just think are terrible. Go ahead and do that. Comment if you have anything useful to say, and I will see you in the next video.
Yeah, personally, I do not have time to watch things that I hate. Like, I have precious enough hours in the day. I'm going to spend them with things that I like or with things that are valuable. Things that are not valuable and I outright hate, no. But, yeah, real talk, this can't say it properly. It's called righteous indignation. Yeah, that's righteous indignation. Apparently, this guy would call that evil. And hey, thanks SCE. Like, I'm glad that at least I can make these videos more bearable and hopefully entertaining. But we're going to take a quick break in between videos. I'm going to grab another drink. Hopefully the stream doesn't bug out because we finally got up to 30 some odd viewers again. And we're going to get, well, who knows? We might actually be able to make it 4 videos today. But we're going to get into what I believe to be episode 9. But I think that the Mirror Project has a couple duplicates because 9 and 10 are just repeats of the previous 2. So, just for the sake of my current numbering system, we're going to be skipping over 9 and 10 and going right to number 11. Single mothers are making kids socially awkward. All right, 2-minute intermission, guys. We'll be right back. All right. And with the biological oil successfully changed out, we are back. Let's see what chat got up to. Oh, actually, slight suggestion from YouTube. Let's see what it says. Current bit rate. It's not liking it. I'm gonna have to mess with the stream settings if it's not liking the bit rate for some reason. I don't think I can change the midstream. I'm not entirely sure how to fiddle with it, guys. You know, monetizing everything, and I'm still messing around with this because there's so many little nuances that I'm not sure how to fiddle with. Can I just open the widget? No. Well, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, guys. Shout at me in chat if something's messing up on your end. But I mean, we could put decent money on whether or not Brittany Venti is maintaining her chastity by being the one to initiate the penetration while keeping her own legs somewhat closed. All right, guys. So we're gonna start the next segment here. So think before you sleep. Archived episode 11. Single mothers are making kids socially awkward.
One of the things that really bothers me is when people don't clean up their own mess. When people create a problem and then they just sit there and blame the problem on everybody else.
Random guy. Okay, yes. False start, guys. So, you don't see the donate button? Maybe I didn't activate it. Hold on. Kind of shitty to be monetized and then not actually allow for it. One second. That do it? Maybe that allows for it? Alright, I think that I've enabled super chats, but I don't know whether or not they'll be valid for this stream. So, yeah, sorry guys. Like, I literally just got monetized after work today, and I'm not 100% set up. So, might be scuffed for this stream, but hopefully by the next stream I'll be able to get everything operational. But if you want to donate, and I did try to enhance the capabilities for this, so if it hasn't been working for you before, give it at the very least give it a look, because it should operate the same, except YouTube doesn't get their 30%. So there's the donation link there. I've been trying to expand the options because I keep getting reports of glitches and errors. Oh, there we go.
Boom.
Successful Endeavor's first super chat of the channel. Thank you very much. All right, we're operational. Also, I'm just going to move that widget over a little bit. It's in a really awkward spot. Where's that alert box? There we go. We'll get that. I said no. Oh, wow.
For the secret project.
Much appreciated. Because I'm trying to remember which secret project. I've got a couple in the works. So thank you. Successful endeavors. Just some random guy and OK Lord. Random guy, I'm not sure why yours didn't pop up and show the audio. Maybe it's still delayed. Can I hit refresh? Redo it? There we go.
First, discombobulate.
Thank you all, gents. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I now... Isn't that super chats are now an option for those who can't or don't want to use the StreamYard link. And yes, text to speech is going to be enabled for them unless, I get flooded with enough TTS that it becomes unusable. Real talk. Thank you guys. So let's see. Is this going through? Surely this stuff's going through. Filter on? No. If it glitches out, guys, I'm sorry. There we go.
Cook this wee.
Thank you guys. Yeah, yeah, I definitely won't be streaming long tomorrow because there's something new coming out. Maybe one or two of you know, but there's something new coming out which is going to make this even better. And I definitely want to get that operational by next week, but I'm going to have to update my chat box format. So look forward to that. Thank you guys. So, but now we will actually get into the segment proper. Episode 11 of the archive. Single mothers are making kids socially awkward.
And there are a lot of big social movements that are going around.
Back a second. There we go. From the beginning.
One of the things that really bothers me is when people don't clean up their own mess. When people create a problem and then they just sit there and blame the problem on everybody else. And there are a lot of big social movements that are going on around that. Like there's a big movement of not looking at my own self or not looking at my problems called the secret, or they call it the law of attraction, which is if I just think positive things will come to me. If I think negative things will come to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all the negative and I'm just going to focus on the positive.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of stuff is why I didn't bother with the secret. But to address the chat, any update on that warband game? I'll be honest, haven't put any time into it because this stuff dropped and a whole bunch of other things have been going on. So I'm going to have to schedule time in to get the warband game under development. Currently aiming for a Mortal Kombat like, emulating number 1. So we'll see how much I'm able to work with that. I'm trying to pick something simple that I can actually dedicate the time to and deliver a product. Sons of Patriarch, Chronic's voice as the TTS. Unfortunately, it only has its own pre-done TTS, though I could make Chronic stuff as a sound alert rather than the little jingle and make that some kind of redeem. So if you have a Chronic quote that you want to be able to drop like a buck or two for, by all means, let me know in chat. I'll see what I can do. Yeah, okay, Lord making games. Like we've got some stuff in production with the Godot engine, but we'll keep going. We'll do this video, and then after this video is done, we'll finish up the rest of the 3 hours with just a free chat, and any questions that you guys have, we can go through it. 17-minute video. We should be able to power through this pretty fast.
Well, that's a problem because if you don't focus on both, if you never look at things that are bad, you're never going to look at your failures and you'll never self-correct for things you've done wrong. Of course, you want to look at positive things. Because positive things are, where are my successes? What are my values? What are my virtuous traits? What are the things that are working versus the negative, which are the things that are not working? So if you sit there and hide behind the secret, the law of attraction, only think of positive things and that will bring positive things to me, you're going to avoid the negative and then you're going to be bitten in the ass by something 10 years down the line that you didn't pay attention to. Kind of like when you're trying to motivate yourself, you have a desire to motivate. You say, I have this goal, that's what I want, but at the same time you have a monster behind you chasing you and pushing you towards that goal. And so what happens is we get these big society problems where people like that. You'll see a YouTube video on it where it's like some guy's talking and it's like, well, we don't really socialize anymore. It's because of Facebook, it's because of the internet, it's because of social media. People are just on their phones all the time. By the way, these people there's a certain speech, there's a certain way of talking. I need to be able to identify it more, but there's a certain presenter way of speaking where it's like, this guy's clearly talking to women. Like Dr. Phil has it. Tony Robbins has it. Ty Lopez has it.
Could he mean mansplaining something? You can't see me, but I'm doing the Dr. Evil pinky to the mouse thing. Like, could he be talking about mansplaining? Warband mod for Streets of Rage? If I knew anything about modding Streets of Rage, I'd consider it. But let's continue. Presenter style speech.
That's the best way I can describe it. Just kind of give you examples.
Clip that. He's going to eat his own words. All right. About 2 minutes in, I'll definitely have to create like a sound archive of things Think Before You Sleep has said that are going to come back and bite him in the ass, and then just make a whole compilation reacting to his current live streams.
But there's something that they're doing that's very, very, very well catering to women. And so when they say we're addicted to social media, they're mostly talking about females. There's not many men I see are actually addicted to social media. Maybe it's just my own social network, but I see far more women who are glued to their phones than men who are glued to their phones. Like the only time I've seen a man glued to his phone is when he's working. He's got like a real estate business or he's a boss somewhere and he's making calls to his employees. This is very much so a female problem as far as I see it. And you kind of tell, at least that's what they're presenting to by the way they talk. So the problem is that kids these days, it's the old saying, no matter what generation you are, you can always shit on the generation after you. By the way, if you're taking a giant dump on the generation that follows you, well, you were there first. And usually what happens is if you have a parent who sits there and blames the kid on every single problem that they have, well, who did they learn it from? Where did they learn to create these problems? And of course, you're the one who was responsible for raising them. So if they're having problems, you fucked up. So you have this movement that social media is causing people to lose their social skills, or you have vaccines cause autism or some shit like that. So whether that's true or not, I don't know.
If only that's all they cause these days. Continue.
I can just look at this socially and say, hey, we have this massive, massive problem called divorce. We have this massive, massive problem called single motherhood. And the issue is that
oh, wow. He actually acknowledged that single motherhood was a problem? Wonder how long before he's going to distance himself from that. Because, again, this is a deleted video. He no longer stands by what he says in this video.
you need both parents or you need both perspectives to properly socialize a kid. And there's a lot of things you have to...
Do you, though? Do you really need both? Really? Because if you look at the success rates, single fathers tend to do just as good, if not better, than couples with both parents. So, do you really need both of them? Or is that just a platitude you like to put out to keep the females interested in what you're having to say, because you make it sound like they're actually important to the raising of a child beyond the whole breastfeeding thing?
You get right doing that. You have to breastfeed. You have to be there for your child. So it's really important for the mother to be there for the child for like the first 3 years or 3 or 4 years or something like that. And then the father becomes more important. You have to positively reinforce. You have to learn how to not hit your kids. You have to learn how to and not to say that, because what's happened here is there's been the anti...
Okay, Armstrong, if you're serious that, like, you know how to make that much cash on a 2-year degree, seriously, hit me up on Discord, man. I am actually curious. I could use that kind of money.
Abuse movement where it's don't hit your kids. But the problem is, it's kind of like saying, well, don't believe in God because God is fake. The problem with that is, well, there are a lot of really important philosophical principles that are in religion that if you just blanketly get rid of religion, then you get rid of all the positive. You throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's kind of what people have done with kids, is that they said, well, you can't hit your kids. So what we're going to do is just not discipline them at all.
I have seen the results of not disciplining your kids at all. The result is that the kids get comfortable being violent with the parents. I mean, what do you do when you hear a parent complaining that his kid is actively throwing plates at them? And yet they want to try to negotiate with them and be friends with them. Strong practical nursing? I'll think about it. We've got a couple options on hand, but we'll continue with this for now.
That's not right. What you should do is find ways to discipline kids with without hurting them. Basically, there's ways that you publicly praise good behavior, you privately punish. There's
What do you privately punish them with, if not physical force? Like, okay. Now we know that Sean's not a parent, and given that his girlfriend is currently Brittany Venti, he's probably never going to be. But here's the thing: you as a parent, your authority over a kid is basically, I'm bigger and stronger than you. I control when you eat. I control whether or not you have a roof over your head. If you are not willing to get physical with your kid, what are you going to do? It's kind of like, how effective would the police be if they couldn't use violence against people? If all they could do was shame and point fingers and try to talk people down, how effective would they actually be? Successful shorts around his sound bites and show the irony of his actions. We'll definitely have to consider that. It's going to be a bugger and a half chopping it all up and combing through it, but honestly, if the algorithm catches a hold of it, definitely worthwhile. But seriously, like, how effective can you be at disciplining your kids if at the very least the threat of physical violence is not there? And I'm not saying you have to actually hit them, but at the very least the kids should be aware that you are willing and able to use physical force as a discipline in order to manage them. Because as soon as they realize that you're not going to do that and they call your bluff, then what? Then you're negotiating with someone who is more than willing to use violence against you, surely, and you're not going to use it back. So what need do they have to listen to you? The same way that, what would criminals do? Would anyone follow the law? Like, seriously, guys, ask yourself. Do you genuinely think that you and the people you know would follow the law if the cops were not allowed to be violent with you? I'm willing to bet it would be absolute chaos in the streets within the week. But let us continue.
You have kids, you can read a book on it. I don't think I'm really catering to people with kids anyway, because this is mostly catering to MGTOW. But you can certainly...
Mostly catering to MGTOW. Excuse me. We're just going to listen to that, like, pure real quick. We're going to go back 10 seconds. Here we go again.
You praise good behavior, you privately punish. If you have kids, you can read a book on it. I don't think I'm really catering to people with kids anyway, because this is mostly catering to MGTOW. But you can certainly turn your nose up when you see people doing things incorrectly. But the single motherhood thing is a problem, because dads are very, very important for socializing kids. One of the things that you notice kids like very well, is because I used to teach kids, is kids love rough play. They don't like, even female kids, like both male and female kids, they both love rough play. They like wrestling. They like, playing games where there's a risk of getting hurt. They like jumping off of tall things, or they like, playing baseball where the baseball could smash you in the face and you can get hurt. They love shit like that.
I mean, let's be honest. All of baseball runs the risk of it smashing you in the face and getting hurt. Like, basically, any sort of sports ball runs the risk of the ball smashing you in the face and getting hurt. And yet, it wasn't that many generations ago that people would legit play freaking arrow roulette as children. And I remember hearing a story about how one girl lost her eye due to a game of arrow roulette. So, but why the heck did the kids scatter in fear, it wasn't because they feared a stern lecture from their parents. It's because they feared a beating, a thorough beating. And let's be honest, if your stupidity costs somebody their eye, a beating is getting off pretty light.
And the people who primarily do that are the fathers. And the real thing is here is if you look at Jean Piaget, if you look at some of the, well, I took a class.
Wait, seriously, Manlotopia, they got rid of dodgeball? Dodgeball. Dodgeball. Okay, like, I know that there are softer balls than dodgeballs, but you're talking about one of the softest ones that is still technically not made of foam. And they got rid of that? Like let's be honest, a dodgeball does not even sting as hard as a sunburn. Like, you can take a dodgeball directly to the face, and I don't even think it's going to fracture anything. You might, at most, get a bloody nose. Maybe. They took away dodgeball? I mean, am I surprised with modern schools these days? No. Let's be honest, they're probably going to get rid of all sorts of any competitive sports. I mean, kid me might like the idea of playing with the big parachute day after day because it was special at the time. But if every day of gym is just playing with the parachute for year after year because any sort of competition that isn't a rainbow circle is bad, no. Get your kids out of public school, folks. Public school is a den of predators that will actively make your children dumb. Oh, hey. Hell yeah, Armstrong. Dodgeball for life. One's in the chat, people. Let's keep going.
In college called motor learning, which is really a exercise science way of talking about Piaget's theories on child psychology. And one of those child psychology things that is kids learn from proximal to distal. Proximal means closer to the heart, and distal means away from the heart. So if you have your shoulder, that is more proximal than the wrist, because the shoulder is closer to the heart than the wrist. If you have the wrist, you might say the wrist is more distal than the shoulder because the wrist is further away from the heart. So a child is going to learn how to control their head first. The first thing it's going to do is they're going to learn how to control their mouth so they can latch on for breastfeeding. Then they might learn how to control their neck. Then they're going to learn how to control their shoulders and then their elbows and their hands and fingers. And fingers are the hardest thing because it's,
A random guy, too true. They want to get rid of all your balls, not just the ones between your legs. Yeah, public school in a nutshell. Removing every single ball that your boys have access to.
There's a lot of micro movements. I think that's the correct word for that. There's a lot of small muscles that are there as opposed to like the elbow and the shoulder. They've got big muscles that are there. So it's easier to control big things versus small things. And one of the ways they learn how to do that is by playing, is by being in environments that are dangerous environments where there is risk. Now, as a good parent, what you're supposed to do is, this is as a good teacher as well, is you're supposed to put people on the edge. Like, how can I create risk without going overboard? Like, if I'm going to wrestle with a kid, I'm not going to sit there and break their arm because that would be overdoing it. But I might pin them down a little bit to see if they can get away. But I'm going to pin them down just enough to where it's possible for them to get away, but it's not easy. They got to figure something out. They have to figure out how to move their arms, how to move their legs, how to move the rest of their body parts so they can get away. And so they learn developmental play like that. And then when they go out to play with other kids, they know, like when you teach that as a parent, they can tell you're not pushing as hard as you possibly could push. So they learn by physically moving that maybe if I'm going to play with another kid, if we're going to wrestle as well, I'm not going to hit as hard as I can. I'm going to play.
That's the thing. We can talk about child development, but literally apes do this. apparently, apparently, we're at the point where we need to explain play wrestling, which is something that our primate relatives do. This is something that is deep in the monkey. Play wrestling. I remember with my brothers, like, when we'd get into fights, the victor was often determined by who could successfully take off the socks of the other. It's funny to think about in hindsight, but it was basically like if you could be de-socked, then you lose. I think that's actually a pretty decent condition because, let's be honest, under most circumstances, it's hard to get someone's socks off. What's next? Explain hide and seek. Honestly, I would not be surprised if hide and seek, because it's the same basic thing, you know, put into a stressful situation where one has to think creatively under a short time span. Hide and seek is quite important for a whole lot of developmental, especially since if you are hiding, you need to be able to externalize and empathize because you are trying to understand the seeker and where they can see. I remember there's an old Simpsons clip where someone says, like, everybody hide, and all the kids hide except for Ralph Wiggum, who literally just covers his eyes. And that is meant to be like the toddler response, like peekaboo, like if I can't see you, you don't exist, therefore you can't find me. Actually, yeah, I think it's the one where they did the Lord of the Flies parody. Anyway, like, that's the thing, like, hide and seek, like, to get caught, you need to be seen, so to find an effective hiding space, you need to think about it from the perspective of the seeker and try to put your body into a location where they will not look. Coming for tag next? Oh, honestly, yeah, Warlock, I would not be surprised if they came for tag next. That is, like, that, I think things that would have been completely unreasonable and unfathomable 20 years ago. It's hard to find a prediction that goes too far for what they're going to do next in schools. Let us continue.
Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have your kid be the kid who smacks the other kid in the face, because that person's not going to want to play with your kid. You're not going to, then that kid's not going to have friends. And you also don't want the person who's such a big pussy that he can't hang with the other people.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that if your kid's the one who smacks the other kids in the face, don't they get, you know, respect and reputation as being the bully on campus? Like, bullies tend to establish themselves at least somewhere up the hierarchy because they're willing to use violence. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's right to do such a thing, but to say that someone is going to have no friends because they're willing to be violent, I mean, shit. Like, I remember the third grade, I legit just agreed to a fight with some other kid on a school bus. Don't remember why. I think that he just asked and I said yes. And before school we fought each other and then we were both hauled off to the principal's office for fighting. It's like, why did you do it? It's like, we agreed to it. I'm pretty sure I was winning the fight, though. For all I know, that's just me remembering it wrong. So think of that what you will. It is a sad day when two kids can't agree to a fight and be able to actually follow through with it without someone interfering.
And so that's primarily taught by fathers. And the real issue here is that if you do not get this right by, you know, this is a Jordan Peterson thing or Stefan Molyneux thing. If you don't get this right by the time they're maybe 4 years old, the other kids who get it right are so far ahead that they don't want to play with a kid who's, a 4-year-old that acts like a 2-year-old. Who the hell wants to do that? And then they get further ahead, so then now they're 10 years old and you're 6 years old. 10-year-olds are not going to want to play with a 6-year-old. Then it's like they're 16, 17, 18 and you're like 11 or 12.
Or it's like you're in your early 30s and you're acting like a teenager, Like, why not take this metaphor to the extreme and assume that someone who is developmentally behind will just continue to be developmentally behind? Like, let's just keep expanding that 2-year gap, and let's make it a 4-year gap. Let's make it a 6-year gap, an 8-year gap. No. It's not at all like being socialized is meant to catch you up. No. It's not about reaching some kind of homogeny with your peers. Nah, if you're behind at the age of 4, then you are just going to be behind for the rest of your life. Really? Like, dude, you took kinesiology. Did you take a minor in child psychology? Because let's be honest, the amount you talk about fucking child psychology, you talk more about child psychology in your videos than you do about exercise, which is what you actually studied. We'll find out at some point whether or not he addresses it, but it is just something that's kind of irking me now that we're several videos in. It's like, dude, did you study child psychology? Because you appear to have studied it at least informally to be able to cite all these things.
And think back to people who are socially awkward. It's not that you pity them. It's like you can't be around them. They're just so weird that your brain forces you away from them. And so how are they even going to fix that? And so you have years and years of that, years and years of deterioration of children through single motherhood. And then you can make excuses like vaccines cause autism. Plus, by the way, women are...
Okay, Senator Armstrong, you think Catholic school is bad now? Like, I have never known a time when Catholic school was good. Like, straight up. Like, Catholic schoolgirls have always been the biggest sluts. That was just the stereotype. And that was a good 20 plus years ago. So if they're like, are they worse now or are they the same now? Can't say, but we'll go back 10 seconds and see what he was getting at here, because it sounded like he might be making an interesting point.
And so you have years and years of that, years and years of deterioration of children through single motherhood. And then you can make excuses like vaccines cause autism. Plus, by the way, women are having children older. So I remember a stat from a long time ago, at least this was in school, is they said if you have a child over 40, your risk for getting the child for the risk for Down syndrome goes up from like 1% to like 7%.
I was just gonna let that play out just to get that whole clip there, because you think that he'd repeat that shit now? Holy fuck. Oh, 1% to 7%. And that is like that's at 40. Like, keep in mind, that is over 1 in 20. And then we wonder why there's so many developmental issues with kids these days. It's like, oh, how old was the mother? Like, seriously, I think that anytime some parent says, oh, XY kid has ADD, ADHD, born with Down syndrome. It's like, well, how old was the mother when they had them? I would not be surprised if that triggers a rage response. Grinch, I say that like it's a bad thing with regards to the Catholic girls. Hey, look, I'm just saying that if you're going to be at a school that is known for, being religious, it's bad to have a reputation for the females going to your school to be borderline prostitutes. Now, that being said, that is the closest we get to a school uniform in Canada. So, I mean, it looks nice. And the idea is attractive at the time, but looking at it is like, god damn. Like, kind of makes you reconsider whether or not school uniforms are a good idea. But then I see girls running around today where their jeans are more empty space than fabric, and it's like, were skirts really that bad? Anyway, that's off topic. Let's keep going. Wait, sorry, Dr. Forthwell. Your laugh sounds like an anime or Cartoon Network villain. Thank you. I've been perfecting it for years. I've been long told that I have an evil villain laugh, and I see no reason to try to change that.
So it multiplies by 7 or something like that. Some really, really big number. I don't know if those exact, but I know 7% is the exact number. I just can't remember what it was before, but it was a very, very low number transitioning to it. The risk was almost 0. Then as you get older and older in age.
AC, I should debate think before you simp. Honestly, it would be an interesting experience too. However, I am way too small for him to give a rat's ass about. I can only hope that he is catching, at the very least, these streams or some of the clips that I am putting up, and he is seething, because I know deep down that he absolutely would not want someone like me to get any bloody exposure. Also, SCE, venti is an actual measurement at Starbucks. It's Italian for extra large. Not joking. So you're telling me that Brittany Venti named herself after an extra large vessel? Just gonna let that one sit there as we continue. We're over halfway through this one.
The risk for mental disorders like that vastly increase. So women are having children older, they're in the workforce, they're not at home. So they're not at home, either it's being there for the kid when he needs help or she needs help, or maybe it's organizing play dates with other mothers. That's really, really important that kids get play with other kids, because
Sorry, I remember play dates are basically, yeah, we got all our kids asleep in baskets, and we moms are going to talk and socialize and drink wine while our kids sleep together in their basket stroller things, and we're going to call that a play date. I mean, yeah, there were actual, I guess you'd call them play dates, where the moms hung out while the kids were in a separate room interacting. But I also remember it being kind of funny seeing pictures of like a bunch of kids sleeping while the moms drink wine, and that being called a play date. It's like, yeah, it's just another excuse to socialize. Let us continue.
because eventually they're going to have to be on their own and know how to socialize, and your parents can't do everything for you. And well, one of the ways you do that is by vetting the people you play with and making sure that your kids get that done. So that's where I think all this is going. That's where I think all the social anxiety is coming from. That's where all the autism is coming from. All the, I don't know, Asperger's, which is like, I don't know. Again, I haven't researched this, but I just have a suspicion that Asperger's is fake autism. I think that's just kids who didn't get played with when they were, sorry to say that very, kids who didn't play when they were younger or didn't have any friends when they were younger. And now they don't know how to socialize.
Wait, seriously, AC? Debate Me has more likes than Debate Undead Chronic? Holy shit, I'm fucking flattered, guys. Thank you. I was not aware of that. Huh. Guess we'll just keep going, Ed. Wow.
Now they understand how games work. Now they don't understand social context. Now they don't understand how to be an adult when they become an adult. And so if you happen to have that, now I had terrible social skills when I became an adult. I once you're out of high school and you remove yourself from the environment where you know everybody that's around you, and you go into college or you go into the workforce, it's not as easy. You don't know people. You have to remember how you learn you met these people in the first place. And it's easy to meet people when everybody kind of knows each other. you see everybody every single day. You have one friend introduce you to another friend, and everything's kind of connected. But when you go off on your own, it's difficult. And when I did it for myself, I found out that I had almost no social skills.
Now, this is actually an interesting conundrum. Because, now, personally, I don't think this is too doxing, but I ended up switching schools a lot throughout my life. So, regardless of how socially awkward I might have been, I had to learn how to integrate myself into the local setting fairly frequently. Like, I forget, like, I'd have to think about the exact number, but I swapped schools like 3 or 4 times by the time I actually went to middle school. So, I had to learn how to make new friends and establish myself in the hierarchy. And I think that's actually worked to my advantage because, guys, I don't know how many of you have had one experience or the other, but I would think that someone who's been in the exact same school system and social circle and held the exact same group of friends for, let's say, all the way through high school, so like 17 years. Well, no, I guess 12 years. Like grade 1 to grade 12, they had the same basic network of friends because they never switched towns and their classmates and friends were graduating at all the same time. I would think that they'd have perhaps somewhat less developed social skills because they hadn't had to start over. I'm not sure about that. Honestly, I think it worked out for me. I don't know whether it would work out for other people. Now, swapping schools every 6 months, yeah, that would be some absolute bullshit. But every couple years, having to rebuild your social circle from zero, I don't know. I think that can be beneficial in some ways. But who knows? Maybe that's just cope. Let's continue.
And I had to build myself up from basically nothing. It took about 5 or 6 years or so. And so I like to think that I had that problem so I could help other people who have a similar problem. So using my knowledge in learning how to be social, my knowledge in development and psychology, and particularly child development, because
Okay, seriously, again, this better be addressed at some point. Development, like childhood development, psychology. You studied, as you have said, kinesiology. You studied exercise. When did you have time? When did you make the effort? And under what parameters did you study child psychology? That's something I'd like a deeper explanation on this. Because it's curious. Because you talk more about this kind of stuff than you do about your supposed major.
I've looked at a lot of PHA stuff, is if you have that problem, if you're having problems from not being social, well, the only way you're going to solve that is to be put in a public environment. Now, of course, what I like to do is when I talk about solutions is to make things extremely simple. Like, what's the simplest possible way I can fix this problem? Because if I sit here and say, well, if you're not social, if you're borderline autistic, if you never go out and talk to people, what you should do is you should just go.
Oh, doctor, I absolutely do. Like I got my papers. Not saying what in specifically, but no, I've done my post-secondary. I got some papers. They're about as useful as toilet paper these days, but I do have them.
To a party, you should go to a club and just talk to everybody in the club. Easy, right? Not really. If you hear me say that and you think, I'm not going to do that, then that's too hard. If you look at any sort of transition and you say, nah, I'm not going to do that, the transition is too hard. So you have to take something that relates that's easier than that. And so what I might say is, hey, what you could do to socialize is join a sports team. You could join martial arts. You can, if you're an adult, you can join an adult league. You can, if you're in high school, you can join a high school sport. Something where people are around you, something where people are working towards a common goal, which is to if you're playing basketball, your goal is to defeat the other team. And you're going to learn a lot of socialization from that. There's so many things you learn from playing games. You learn teamwork, you learn mentorship, you learn, how to not cheat, things like that. And 3 examples is enough for the top of my head. And it may be I say, hey, go join a sport, and you say, nah, I'm not going to do that. And again, we reference that's probably too hard. So let's make it easier. How about you just go buy a gym membership for $10? There are plenty of places that do that. $10, $20 or so. And you just go work out in public.
Well, 2023, a man working out in public is actually at pretty severe risk. So maybe this was good advice in 2019. 2023? Don't know if the gym's where you want to socialize. Personally, work, I guess it depends what kind of work you're doing. The kind of work I do, which is large group of men, outdoors, working towards a common goal. You learn to deal with difficult people. You learn to make yourself fit within the hierarchy. And you learn to socialize. Typically with a wide variety of people. And hey, you get paid to do it. It's kind of funny when you get to joke around with your guys look, this might all be in a shit situation, but on the plus side, we're paid by the hour. So it doesn't matter how much other people are fucking up so long as we're still collecting a paycheck. Let's continue.
Run on the treadmill in public. That's it. Anybody can fucking do that. And then maybe you pick a gym that also has group fitness. Lots of gyms have that. You can take yoga, you can take Zumba, you can take body pump, you can take some sort of weight training class, or whatever format, or whatever Sean T, Tony Robbins. What's that guy who does P90X? Whatever. Just look it up. The Sean T stuff, the Les Mills stuff. All gyms have that kind of stuff, and you exercise in public. And what will happen is if you take those classes long enough, eventually you will become good. And even if you don't socialize with anybody, if you become good at something and somebody is really bad that stands next to you, they can say, how did you do that? That's a conversation. That's socialization. So you can start with just simply exercising in public. You can start with doing public physical activity because, again, we learn how to use our bodies first before we learn how to use our language. So you need to communicate to yourself on a very subconscious level. And then you can do things like getting jobs that are very interpersonal, like being a cashier or being cashier for someone who's very unsociable was very, very hard work. You can be a cashier, you can be a fast food person, you can be any.
Hey, doctor, I'm not saying that it's bad he learned about all this child psychology stuff, but he went to post-secondary, majored in kinesiology, and then apparently spent a large amount of time looking into child psychology. I'm curious as to what the story is behind that, because it wasn't his major. It's not his profession. Why did he do all this? It's a legitimate question, and it comes up often enough that I think, at the very least, it's worth answering. Doesn't matter whether or not the degree is useful or not, whether he can make money off of that. He's never said that he took it. He's never said that he studied it formally. And yet, at the very least, he sounds like someone who has at least a year of formal child psychology training under his belt, if not more. What guided such an interest? Because I wouldn't normally think, hey, my yoga instructor probably knows a whole lot about child psychology and early childhood development. That's strange to me. It's unusual. And I'm curious. That's why I pointed out.
Sort of job that requires you to be around people. Like you're not going to pick like the person who stocks the shelves in the store. You're going to be the one who wants to be up front, even if you're bad at it. Be terrible. Well, that's kind of my thoughts on that. My brief 15-minute thoughts on that or so on the lack of social skills, the lack of social awareness. I don't think it's caused by the internet. I think the internet is a huge, benefit to society. And I think a lot of this problem is largely single mothers just blaming their problems on other people and blaming their lack of being there for the children on somebody else. And so you have to blame the internet, you have to blame vaccines, you have to blame anybody but you. And so if you have this problem, say it's my and your parents are going to take blame for it if they weren't.
Well, that's the thing, Dr. Paradox. If he does have his own problems that he's trying to solve, well, maybe that might explain some of his current behavior. And is that really the kind of person that you should be taking advice from? Someone who is still dealing with his own childhood trauma? Because how much of what he is analyzing in others is he just projecting his own experiences onto, if indeed he does have childhood trauma? But we don't know unless it's explained somewhere in these future videos. We can only guess based on what he seems to talk about a lot.
Taking blame for it already. So you say it's my fault that I'm not social. I'm going to do everything I can to be social because, well, let's just take the MGTOW perspective on this. A large portion of MGTOW
Going back into the MGTOW perspective, I guess that's another reason why you decided to yeet this video.
people want to make society better. They want to walk away from the table because they're not going to become slaves to divorce court.
No, MGTOW don't necessarily want to make society better. MRAs want to make society better. MGTOWs do not give a fuck about what's going to happen to society. They're entirely focused on self-preservation, and they've accepted that society's going to be fucked. At the very least, that's my understanding of the matter. I need someone who's a little harder down the MGTOW rabbit hole to give their 2 cents. You know, someone like Hammerhand, because I can't honestly say that I'm MGTOW. Like, definitely very sympathetic to it, and I would describe my life as practically MGTOW. But I can't say that I have sincerely embodied the philosophy, because I am prepping for a family maybe 10 to 15 years down the line. Certainly not going to be fucking tomorrow. Certainly not going to be within the next year or two. But until that has become a non-possibility, cannot say I'm MGTOW, and I can only look at the philosophy from what I see as the outside.
But what I've heard from a lot of them is that if divorce court didn't exist, if feminism didn't exist, they'd go right back into being fathers. If the female vote or whatever didn't exist, or the female vote without consequence didn't exist, they'd walk right back onto the table.
Yeah, I personally would not think of those guys as MGTOW. I think of them as MRAs. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of guys who would fall into that position where the only reason they're not getting married is due to the absolute dog shit laws. Heck, I probably fall into that category myself, I'd say. Should I just say it? Yeah, I'd fall into that category, but I also wouldn't consider myself MGTOW specifically because I would fall into that category.
And so if we're going to create a situation where that happens, if we're going to avoid the collapse, or if we're going to avoid this very harsh...
We're not avoiding the collapse. We are at most delaying it. But it's not something that can be avoided. That's like saying you avoided the tsunami. No. The only way to avoid the tsunami is to run away from it far enough that it doesn't reach you. But you can't dodge the tsunami with iframes like in Dark Souls. It's either the tsunami hits you now, or it's going to hit you later. The question is, did you bring your oxygen tank? Because that's what's going to determine whether or not you survive the tsunami.
Landing of societal destruction. Maybe society breaks down a little bit, but maybe we can catch ourselves if we just do things correctly enough. And so one of those ways to be correct is that, everybody's accusing MGTOWs of being a bunch of incels, a bunch of mother's basements people, a bunch of people who are losers.
GG Tao. So sorry. Now I think he's getting into something. So we're gonna go back 10 seconds here and just have him repeat this without interruption.
And so one of those ways to be correct is that, everybody's accusing MGTOWs of being a bunch of incels, a bunch of mother's basements people, a bunch of people who are losers. If you want things to work, stop being a loser. Stop being the guy that anybody can easily attack and start being better. And if socialization is one of your problems, and certainly I'll be making more videos that are like this. I've already made a couple videos like this that you can check out, like the no plan B thing. And the podcast episodes have some of those topics in there as well. So you can listen to those, especially the How to Spot a Crazy Person is one of my favorite episodes to do because I got to go talk about all the knowledge I have and being able to identify people who are toxic for you. So even just learning that stuff is really important. So you be as best you can. We create this soft lining. You rectify or not rectify. You reverse some of your bad childhood experiences, and well, you're only going to benefit from that. And when you benefit and you do things.
I don't think you can reverse a bad childhood experience. You might be able to move past it or overcome it, but you can't undo what happened. It happened. Also, yeah, live in basement or find your local boomer. Honestly, I can't say for sure what would be the better option on a general scale. I'd say I'd use my rule of thumb for what I've heard of a game theory. Not the show, the actual theory of gaming. And that is the best move is the one that leaves you with the most options. So that's going to vary individual by individual. Almost done, guys. Literally 20 seconds.
Things that are correct for you, you do things that are correct for society as well. So, blame yourself.
No. Doing what's right for you is not necessarily what's right for society. Like, you can live a minimalist life, fuck off from providing shit for society, and instead ensure that you, those important to you, and those essential to supporting you in the future survive, and tell society to go fuck itself. No. MGTOW is not self-improvement for the benefit of society. It is benefit for the self regardless of whether or not society benefits. So he hasn't quite gotten into his MGTOW phase where he was using the algorithm to really, really pump his videos. But at the very least, he's name dropping the acronym pretty hard, even just this many episodes into his career. Almost done, guys. Like, literally 13 seconds.
Blame the single mothers. But blame yourself before that. And, well, if you like this video, why don't you hit that like button or the subscribe button, or maybe both. Both is certainly fine. And I will see you in the next video.
No, you absolutely will not. Because, again, I will mention this every video. You took all of these videos down. You are ashamed of this. You don't want to be associated with this. You are hiding from this. And so it is my sincerest hope that at least some of your viewers manage to find their way here and manage to find out a little bit more of who you used to be. But more important than that, I hope that chat is having a fun time with what's going on. So, well, admittedly, this brightness is bit of a flashbang right now, so let's put up something a little more visually appealing. There you go. I really don't have that many just on standby right now, so here's some waifu abs on the bed for the moment. We're going to take another quick intermission, and then we're just going to have a bit of a chill stream for the last half hour or so. So any questions you want to ask about further developments or warband related stuff or plans in the works, or heck, just anything you want to say to me, talk with you guys for the next half hour. Just going to grab another drink and then drain the main vein. Be right back. And we are back with some free chat. Steve, sorry you're not into the chick abs. Personally, I kind of like them, but I also just don't have that many waifu images up and ready to go. So I'll try to keep a little more of a variety of selection. This is just what I have handy at the moment. After 30th episode, he went, great, make it stop. Well, I mean, if he acknowledges my channel at all, that's going to be more than he's currently done. But the idea of actually getting to hold a bit of a debate stream with him, that'd be fun. That'd be an interesting thing to go through, because I don't think I've ever really gotten to debate someone that I'm that opposed to live and really try to pick their brain for a whole bunch of things. Hey, Lego, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so you missed like the main bits of roast, but I will be going into these and cutting them all up into individual segments. Right now, we're just gonna spend the last half hour or so, 25 minutes ish, and we're just gonna have a bit of a chill stream where I talk to chat. Suggestion from SCE there. We'll wait for that to pop up. Looks like there's a bit of a delay between when the super chat comes through and when it actually pops up on screen. First, discombobulate. Dazed. Discombobulate.
Play a short video when you take care of business.
I'll be honest, SCE, not entirely sure what you mean, but like if you go into more detail about the video idea, message me on Discord, because I wouldn't object to putting together some shorts and content. But sorry, this quote from just ready. First, discombobulate. Dazed. Discombobulate. Distract target. Discombobulate. Block his blind jab and discombobulate. He'll attempt a wild haymaker. Discombobulate. In summary, discombobulate. He won't do anything with you. Has no guts and probably wants to sweep the whole Switch thing under the rug. Well, the big problem with him trying to sweep it under the rug is I get very high numbers for my channel and a lot of chat engagement when I roast him. So, quite frankly, until you guys are bored of me dissecting his previous content, this is going to be at least a once a week thing. Ideally twice a week, but at the very least once a week. What kind of vid would I want as break time shorts? Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to think on that. Like, so long as chat found it entertaining, I wouldn't be particularly picky. Like, I'd probably go for something like just weird sort of ambient stuff. Like, maybe I'd pull something up in the Unreal Engine and create some sort of looping environment. But I don't know. Like, I do really want to increase the budget of this because it looks nice now. But I do want to take it further. It still feels kind of bare bones compared to what I feel it could be. Did I watch the Chrissy Mayer Part 1 stream when he was on? No. Like, I have a hard enough time keeping up with Warband content, let alone researching other stuff, because usually a lot of my time is either doing more research for this channel, trying to develop additional content, or taking some much needed break time, which I'll admit I don't really get enough of. Random waifu slideshow? I could put that together. I mean, like I do have content from the failed attempt to get the waifu on OnlyFans, but that stuff's not really YouTube safe. But you know, I could throw something together. It'd take a little bit to get the imagery right, but I could throw something together that's some tasteful yet thirst trappy waifu images in a slideshow. Nice waifu pic, thanks. I made her myself. Solitaire is still going. Yeah, I want to go for 3 hours, so we're going to go for another 21 minutes ish, and then I'll hit the extra music. I like my streams to be 3 hours. It's consistent, and that way people can budget for how long it's going to be. It's just right enough that I can cover realistically 3 episodes of Think Before You Sleep, even if they're some of the longer ones, and I tend to get a little more rambly. I don't tend to go over an hour per. Put a compilation of Venti burping. You think I'm gonna watch in Brittany Venti streams long enough to catch every single one of her burps and make a compilation? Like, I'm pretty sure that there already is one of those. In fact, I'm going to look for it right now because I am certain that there is one. Brittany Venti burp compilation. Does it exist? Yes, it is. There's 24 minutes and 19 seconds of Brittany Venti burping, and it has 74,000 views. So I'll be honest, if I was to make it, I'd probably literally just steal that video and maybe shuffle them around. I don't know. 24 minutes of Brittany Venti burping, 74,000 views. Somebody's into that, a disturbing amount, where there's a lot of people who want nothing more than to see a 6 out of 10 belch. Like, let's be honest, she could probably sell her burps in a jar and they'd sell. Let's see. Play videos like this to discombobulate your audience. What do you got? Oh, oh, you're gonna send my audience this. Okay, well, look, I'll be honest. If you're going to have me put that on my audience, there is another video that I need to put out first. So, oh God. 1 second, guys. I'm probably going to lose a bunch of you in a second. So, I'm just going to give the disclaimer video. Come on. Shuffle this stuff around here. Alright. Shuffle this stuff around. Cue this stuff up. Alright. Alright, 2 seconds, guys. I figure out how to pull this up here real quick. That. There we go. Alright, so first, you need your disclaimer.
You need to have muscles on your eyeballs.
Alright. Fair warning.
Know you wanna party with a fat bitch, even though in comments you're like cap bitch. Time you spend with me will be time well spent, and if I get on top, you know I'm leaving a dent. Know you wanna party with a fat bitch, Buy my diamond through my name brand chips. Time you spend with me will be time well spent. And if I get on top, you know I'm leaving a dent. I'm a big bad big butt, big dreams baddie. 2 minutes with me and you'll be calling me daddy. Might not pass the presidential fitness test, but notify your next of kin, I'll put you to rest. Whiny little dudes say,
I'm concerned for your health.
and think about my back rolls while they're touching themselves. They comment, I legitimately thought this was John Candy. Then whisper my name as they start to get randy.
Here's some tomboy abs as apology. Here, I will just, I'll just, you know, just make this a little bit bigger for you. You know, just a little bit, just a little bit there. There, just bring him a little more front and center there. So there's your eye strength training for the day. If you could watch that entire video without looking away, congratulations. You are now that much stronger. There you go. Let's make those abs just a little bit bigger. There, like screw the face. That's what you're actually after. Toned body, nice abs. It's the best countermeasure I can offer as forgiveness. Oh my god! Hey, no. Gem power. They are not built like grandmothers. Like that is an insult to grandmothers. Like, I'm pretty sure that if a grandmother went around looking like that, her knees would collapse. Like, just completely shatter. Hey, Jaded Warlock, you also play Azure Late on a second monitor. Nice. I gotta fucking finish the event tonight before it ends. Hey, yeah, if RGE is streaming right now, I absolutely jump into his stream after this. Like, he still makes good content. I catch his videos every now and again. What doesn't kill you only pisses you off. Rather stare at cadavers again. Well, you get to look at some ghost waifu abs right now, so that's the best I got. Like, we'd have to pull out the chronic waifu abs if you wanted to actually look at cadavers. For no reason, I'm back. What the hell's this? This is me appeasing chat and also torturing them. It's the eye training. Yeah, I got your implacable. Nice. I literally had to draw 200 to get implacable. Like, my luck has been absolute dog shit this event. Surprised the warband isn't blind yet. Surprised I work. Like, I mean, let's be honest. We've you tend to get hazed. Like, Mana gets it pretty bad, but like Chronic makes sure to acclimate us to the kind of endeavors one has to endure in the warband. Still waiting for the Victory Bells waifus. Honestly, I don't know. I like the time travel waifus personally. They're still my main, my main one. But hey, Iron Blood waifus. So read into that however much you will. The key to not going blind is not staring directly at it. Yeah, that's where you have to pull out that Puzz 3D technique where you just kind of make your eyes completely lose focus while you're looking at something. We also, okay, we got our whale combat training. Oh, I've actually got like Oki's panty sniffing videos saved. Like that shit is back the fuck up. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to use it. I don't know how I'll use it, but I have it. I'm going to go look at Ben Savero's sister to cure my soul. Excuse me. Excuse me, Steve. You have premium purple ghost waifu abs on screen right now. Are those not sufficient? Do I need to get even sexier waifu abs for my chat? Are they of such high quality taste? Wait, what you have, Gray? What? Why? What? You mean what? Azur Lane waifus? Or do you mean like abs waifus? Like that's what's on the screen right now. I got freaking purple ghost waifu abs here. Are you not entertained? I mean, I hope I'm entertaining, guys. And if not, like, well, let's see. Hey, I'm apparently entertaining 36 of you, which means a bunch of you still stuck around through all the freaking stream stuff, and even the God, I don't even know if you'd call that a flashbang. Probably more of a cluster bomb. Get that housewife waifu, and I'll stare at your waifus. You want the housewife outfit? Okay. You know, I can listen to my chat and create content based on their feedback. If you want some housewife scenes, that is absolutely manageable. I can't promise anything like Naked Apron because I'm pretty sure that violates TOS, but I can create some very wholesome images. Victory Bells is a completely different game. 7 years in dev, came out last month. Honestly, if I wasn't so deep in the hole with Azur Lane, I'd be tempted to jump to a different waifu gacha, but I don't know. I like the Dan Maku sort of gameplay, and I'm into a good rhythm with it. Been doing hand-drawn art for a bit, considered getting a career with design, but since AI art is getting popular, should I find something else? Well, I'll be honest. It really depends what your goals are. I have not found graphic design to be... Well, that's the thing. If you're doing hand-drawn art, it's usually not very... It's not a big money maker. However, if you can do hand-drawn art, that gives you a lot more power with AI art. So I'd suggest looking into Stable Diffusion image to image. And just, you really got to consider what you want to do for your career path as your moneymaker and how much you want to make of it as a hobby. Because it's, like, AI art does a lot of things that work, but at the same time, trying to get something specific is incredibly difficult. So, like, I've had to actually work with a bunch of hybrid programs in order to get some very specific images. If you can draw by hand and well enough that an AI could translate that into your vision, you may be able to make use of AI in the artistic career. But as for graphic design, again, I just see the AI art as being an additional tool. If you're adaptable and somewhat software savvy, you can make a lot of use of it. And you can probably put yourself ahead of a lot of your competition by making an effective use of it. But if you're going for a career in art, I'd really advise you to consider something else to be your bread and butter job, especially if you're just starting out, because it is very hard to make decent, consistent money in art. At least that's been my experience. Take it with a grain of salt. Emo purple skin waifu? That's the thing. I've only really made her in her like gym uniform. I could absolutely give her a wide variety of outfits and put her in different scenarios. You put money towards Azure Lane? Unfortunately, yes. There's some time limited stuff that I wanted, and like it is difficult to grind up enough diamonds to expand the dock. So yeah, I've put money into a waifu gotcha game. Like I'll do my fucking 40 lashes in penitence or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, I dumped a bit of money into fucking boat waifu game. A friend of mine is a graphics design major, very good artist by hand. I keep telling him to make furry corn so he can retire into you. Like, that's the thing. If you want to make money doing commissions, learn how to do furry corn. Furries have money, and they are absolutely willing to spend it. And they will pay you a shit ton to draw all their fetish material. If you want to make good money doing freelance art, you're gonna have to learn how to draw furry corn, especially since AI is not that good at it yet. There's some, but even the ones that I have seen, they're not as good at it yet, so that's where the money maker is. It is what it is, dude. You're gonna have to learn how to do it if you really want it. Okay, boat waifu, boat woman. How to explain Azure Lane? God, how do I explain it? Like basically, anime waifus that are also technically like battleships, aircraft carriers, submarines, and destroyers. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure how it all works, and I've played the game for a couple years. There's an anime, I don't know if it explains it any better. There's a 3D video game. I don't know if that really explains it any better. It's a weird sort of concept, but imagine the power of a battleship, but it's basically packed into an anime girl who can summon like a pseudo battleship around her and skates on water. It's weird. It's just plain fucking weird. Random guy. The AI can't fathom the sheer degeneracy of humankind. Nah, admittedly, it can't. Like, the AI has yet to replicate some of the craziest fucking shit that I have seen. Not that I've tried to take it that far yet, but if you don't have a lot of tags on Danburu, it's going to be kind of hard to find something accurate. I mean, you would be shocked at how hard it is just to make a waifu with purple skin. I had to go the extra mile to get my waifu to have purple skin. Thank you very much. Yeah, chat tried to explain Azure Lane. Is like, yeah, guys, like, admit it. It is just hard to explain Azure Lane, even to people who've played it for years. AI doesn't understand how fingers work. Okay, let's be honest here. Most artists can't get fingers accurately. Hands have consistently been one of the biggest obstacles for professional artists. There are workarounds now with 3D models. I've seen them being posted, but that's the thing. The AI is going to be able to master hands faster than humans can. Just is what it is. The tech is getting better. Azure Lane has an anime? Yeah, apparently it does. I've only seen clips of it. It looks like some cute slice of life stuff, but yes, Azure Lane has an anime. It also has a 3D action game. I haven't played those because I don't have much more free time than to just fuck around on the mobile game. But yes. I don't know if it explains things any better than I've explained them here. Oh, yeah. Honestly, like Azure Lane and Contact Collection, it is hard to tell the difference between the two. So far as I know, Azure Lane is the one with sirens. I think that there's some sort of different weirdo enemy in Contact Collection. Don't know. Haven't played. Haven't really read. Dr. Fourth Wall doing art for a while. Then you know what? You might find AI art to be a useful tool, and I'd suggest studying it to get it in your tool belt, because AI art is going to be as revolutionary to the art world as digital art was. Yeah, action games pretty mid. Yeah. Thoughts on AI anime? I've discussed it a bit in my Tech Talk Tuesdays. I've seen some of the process stuff. I'm curious to try to make it, but at the very least, I think that using AI art for backgrounds that don't particularly mean anything is a great way to save your background artists for the shots that actually matter. I can't explain the plot in Azure Lane. Oh, I can. Alien ships are invading Earth, and we're utilizing weird technology that personifies ships in order to create waifus to fight back against them. And they have a whole bunch of factions loosely based on countries across the world, unified by the commander protagonist, which is meant to be your self-insert. That's basically the elevator pitch of the Azure Lane plot as I understand it. All right, but we have hit the 3-hour mark, gentlemen, so I'm going to say this has been a very successful Red Pill Cult meeting. Thank you all for turning out. Hopefully I'll be able to do my debut for a bunch of the advanced stuff probably over the weekend. Hopefully before Sunday's Elden Ring. So thank you all 31 of you still here. We're going to play the ending scene, and I hope that you all have a great evening and a great rest of your week. Peace out, Warband.